Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your co-hosts, TV, aka TV on basketball, alongside my co-host Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
TV, it's going good. First of all, I want to do something real quick, though. I want to apologize to the people. I did not drop the TikTok related to the Chicago Bulls, and it's because I could not muster up the strength to do it because I recorded it 4 times, and every single time sounded more upset than the last one.
Hey, man, the people, that's how people would love it, man. That's exactly how the people would love it. If you still have it in you, you got it.
Yeah, so at some point I'm gonna try to do some kind of little like in-depth breakdown on the Chicago Bulls because obviously this is egregious what's going on, and actually it seems like even further details came out after our podcast related to AK's viewpoints on it. One of them being that they feel like we're in a good spot right now. Things like that just don't make any licks of sense when you look at the idea of Alex Caruso potentially being able to go for 2 firsts, DeMar DeRozan still not having a contract extension. Like, there's a million things that are wrong with it. I'll obviously eventually get to that at some point because we have to cook the Bulls, right? But TV, Allstar Weekend is coming up this week, and we have a lot of great things coming up as part of transitioning into Allstar Weekend, but also we have a ton about Allstar Weekend to talk about today.
Yeah, no, we'll actually talk about it right here on the pod. I mean, in terms of the Daily NBA Pick Challenge, you've seen it. It's been happening on both of our pages. And we decided to move on to the Hit Your Free Throws pod. We're going to be doing a lot more different content on that page. As you could see over the last, few days or so, I've been posting up the vlogs. The TV's Raptors weekend was a success, however you want to look at it. We went 1 and 2. The Wemby vlog is going to go up tonight. So
Crazy
I was able to see watching, I will talk about this really quick. Seeing Wemby block 10 shots, you don't understand, like, I was with a couple of my boys. And after he got the 7 blocks, the Raptors, I think, were down by 20. At that point, we converted our whole section, especially one of my friends, because he was so hyped because he wanted Wemby to get that triple-double with the block. He was so hyped that he converted our entire section to, like, want Wemby to get every single block possible. I think there was 2 goaltendings when he had 9 blocks, and our like entire section was booing the refs because we thought it should have been a block. We completely did a heel turn on the Toronto Raptors just because we wanted to see history.
I seen on Twitter, like I think it was like the last like 7 minutes of the game, Kenny Beecham tweets, he goes, he's 3 steals away, because obviously we're looking for the 5x5, right?
No. As fans, this is what we were talking about. I was talking to people in my area. We were looking either for a quadruple double because this man had 5 assists in like the first 6 minutes. So we were like, the quad dub is possibly there. When he got 2 steals in a row, I'm like, oh shit, that 5x5 is possible. So there's that going on, and then we were thinking, and then at that point, like at some point, we're like, okay, it's a blood. He's not going to play much longer. We're just hoping for the triple double with blocks. He finally got it. It was an insane game. The Raptors still lost by 22 to the freaking Spurs, but who cares? we saw freaking history. But that's the way we ended it. I went 1 and 2 in my Raptors weekend. It was kind of tough, but you'll be able to see all the vlogs coming soon tonight. Sure. And as Jay said, as I said earlier, we're gonna move all the picks to the Hit Your Free Throws page right after the All-Star break. We're gonna be rebranding with a new logo, a new banner, and everything. And, of course, you're going to just see a lot more different content that we got. Of course, we're going to have the clips. You're going to have my vlogs going on throughout the season. You might see some more. You're going to see some filter content. You're going to see, of course, some up-to-date NBA news stuff that's going to be going on throughout the season. So just be on the lookout for the Hit Your Free Throws page. It's going to be definitely cooking up in the final few months heading into the playoffs. Even going into the offseason, you already know that page is going to be absolutely popping. Sure. So, that's just the big news we want to talk about. And, of course, we're going to get into the episode very shortly, talking about a lot about All-Star Weekend, the buyout market, and a lot of other things going forward. Of course, heading out for the quiz and draft as well. So you got to Hit Your Free Throws Classic coming up real soon. But before we get into that, we do have to plug our socials in general. Make sure you follow our individual pages. One thing about Jay, you want to make the announcements really quick before we move forward as to why we're moving a lot of this stuff to the Hit Your Free Throws page?
Yeah, man, it's kind of an insane situation because of the fact that I've been on this for so long. But we're retiring the Knockdown J page. It's not one of those things that I think is going to be gone forever, but it's going to be gone temporarily. Because I want to put a lot more focus on the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, but I also want to put a lot of focus on my passion project. You've heard TV highlight the routine jumper page a ton over the last couple of weeks, and I've really appreciated that. But I
Yeah.
haven't really given it the type of energy that I want. And the routine jumper page in general, the routine jumper as a brand for me is a passion project that is 2.5 years old. And I have never truly delved into it in the way that I want to because I've always had the Knockdown J page. I've always had,
Yeah.
once upon a time, I had the Hoop Talk podcast, the Hit Your Free Throws pod. Now, I've always kind of stretched myself thin to a point where I never was able to really focus on building a brand from the ground up. And I've had the Knockdown J for forever. So it's no real way to go about it. So all that to be said, I will still be known as the Knockdown J on this podcast, of course. But there might be a segment of sorts that is related to the Knockdown J that will be moved over to the Hit Your Free Throws podcast. So it's not necessarily dying off. But in terms of the Knockdown J page, I will be moving away from that and focusing primarily on the Hit Your Free Throws podcast page because there are a lot of very special things that me and TV are trying to do. And I want to really lean into that. But my other main thing is this passion project of the routine jumper. I have talked about it. I have visualized what it's supposed to look like 8 billion different ways. And it's about, and to quote LeBron James, it's about damn time to go ahead and actually, lean into that heavily. So the Knockdown J is not gone, but it is temporarily retired. It's the Brett Favre of basketball at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, again, we're still gonna be referring to him as Jay. He's still the knockdown Jay here, so it's gonna be the moniker is still there. But if you want to check out individual stuff, again, I'm still posting all my Raptor stuff now. My page is basically purely gonna be some Raptors and maybe some filters and stuff like that. But that's basically gonna be my TV on basketball page from now on, and then a lot of the new stuff moving on to Hit Your Free Throws. So if you want to check our individual projects out at TV on basketball, at the routine jumper, those links can be found in the description down below. But of course, you're all here for the Hit Your Free Throws pod. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram for the best daily NBA content. If you want to support us on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That would be highly appreciated. And if you're listening on any of the podcast networks, Spotify, Apple, leave a review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jay, a longer intro than usual, but we had to get some things off our chest. But are you ready to talk some ball going into All-Star Weekend?
Man, I'm over the pleasantries. It's All-Star Weekend, bro. Let's get busy. Let's get busy.
Yeah. If you guys remember last week, we did literally the entire episode was going through every single trade from the NBA trade deadline week. And what's weird is that we haven't even gotten into the Eastern and Western Conference All-Star snubs yet. Right. So those were announced 2 weeks ago. I have the lists here in front of me. Over here on I had it like right over here. But basically, we have on the East side, we have Julius Randle, we had Jalen Brunson, we have Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, we had Donovan Mitchell, we have I think we have some other players that we're missing out on here, Paolo Banchero and Tyrese Maxey. But we had some injury replacements because Joel Embiid is hurt. And Julius Randle's hurt. So who are the new injury replacements? Trae Young and Scotty Barnes for the Eastern Conference. And who knows if it's might change because Jalen Brunson has had a nagging injury. I don't know if they're gonna want him to be in the All-Star games, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But he is still currently going to play, but who knows? There might be another injury replacement coming soon. But moving over to the west side of things, they were announced as well. Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Karl Anthony Towns. Jay, let's be honest, 90% of our picks did make the All-Star team. Mm-hmm. But who are some snubs that you think that deserve some love? Because, I guess the snubs that some people would assume would be on the East probably got filled with the injury replacements. Mm-hmm. So, but maybe you give one or two from each side. Who do you think were snubs on both the East and West sides?
So I think the Eastern Conference won, especially after the subs were selected. The easiest one for me is Kristaps Porzingis. He's been balling when healthy. Balling. I understand the Derek White push. Look, I've seen it. We've heard it. TV, I also told you when we had the conversation about Derek White for All-Star that it'd be hilarious if he did it, but I didn't believe it was actually going to happen. I believe that you can make a legitimate argument, honestly, that Kristaps Porzingis actually is the second best player on the Celtics this year, despite the fact that Jaylen Brown did make the team. Like, you can make a strong enough argument for that. So I think that the easy answer in the Eastern Conference for what's left is Kristaps Porzingis. The West is a different animal. The two guys to me that came up that I thought were the most interesting is De'Aaron Fox, who was averaging damn near 30, right? And didn't make it. And this is going to be an odd one because I feel like you can go a lot of different ways, but was Karl Anthony Towns even the most deserving second Timberwolf to make the All-Star team?
We have been pushing this narrative. Rudy Gobert is the second most important player on that Timberwolves team. They're the number one defense for a reason, and people just don't want to vote Rudy Gobert in the All-Star game. Maybe because of the way he plays, but he is the second most important Timberwolf, the best, second best Timberwolf on that team.
I mean, TV's explained it to y'all, so I ain't really got to say too much. But besides that, but I mean, to even further clarify it. The person who we potentially think is a leading candidate for DPOY isn't an all-star, but he's going to make All-NBA, and he might win DPOY, but he's not an all-star.
Weird. It's weird.
It's just like, it's math that don't math. Like, it's one of those things, like, for example, a lot of people get in beefs with, now this year is a little bit different, but in past seasons, Jimmy Butler not being elected as an all-star, but being an all-NBA caliber player, being a guy who's always in conversations, as a second team in some people's eyes, even first team all-NBA in certain circumstances. Yet he's not been selected to the All-Star teams. His is a little bit different because we know what Jimmy is in the regular season versus the postseason. We've become accustomed to it. Rudy Gobert is on a completely different level in terms of our understanding, where, if anything, Rudy Gobert is actually more of a regular season player. So, again, the DPOY leading candidate, because I understand Anthony Davis and all of those, but I'm just saying, the DPOY leading candidate is not an all-star, but Karl Anthony Towns, who chased 70 and his teammates wasn't jacking with him while he was doing it. They weren't rolling with bro while he was going for the 70. He's the one who's considered as the second best Timberwolf. Like, if we had to put two Timberwolves in it, I don't think it was Karl. If we had to put another big, what happened to Domantas Sabonis?
That is going to be my biggest question. What happened
the real question is just, I'm not really sure where the Karl Anthony Towns thing came from, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the man too disrespectfully, but Alperen Şengün, Domantas Sabonis, Rudy Gobert, Wemby, you had mad options at the big man spot in the West, and we came up with Karl Anthony Towns, and the reason is what?
50, near 50, 40, 90. I'm not saying that he's not having an all-star year. He's having an all-star year. The only issue is that the West is too freaking deep, man.
Come on, man.
And Sabonis should have been the lock here. That is my biggest thing. Sabonis should have been the lock. And the fact that we've had zero Sacramento Kings on this list is blasphemy. How are you because here's the issue, right? The Sacramento Kings have always had DeMarcus Cousins. They've had star type players on their team. De'Aaron Fox back in the day, but they're not winning. So they're not gonna have the All-Stars. They're winning now. And they still don't have the All-Stars. It's kind of just what was going through the head? Do we have too many California guys? Then if you had too many California guys, why do you have so many freaking Lakers on the team when they're freaking at least at the time of selecting, they were under 500? Karl Anthony Towns, he's having an All-Star season, but I would pick three guys over him for sure. Gobert, Fox, Sabonis. You could even talk me into Lauri Markkanen. Those four guys.
That's another one I missed. I missed.
I don't mind the choice, and I think what coaches were thinking is that they're the number one seed. They've basically maintained that for 90% of the season. They deserve two, but it should have been to Rudy if they were going to go with that mentality. So I don't agree with that. In terms of the East side of things, I think Trae Young and Scotty Barnes are the right choices. Some people want to push back on Porzingis. I will say though, as I know games played is gonna suck when you like talk about it this way, but Scotty's played like 51 games. Porzingis has played like 36.
Facts. Oh, facts.
Yeah. And Scotty, I know like people are gonna say, "Oh, he's on one of the worst teams." Yeah. We're bad. I know we're bad. I seen us play 3 times this weekend. We're bad. But Scotty Barnes and the lead that he has taken this year should not go unnoticed. 28-5. The only other player averaging those type of numbers with a steal and a block is freaking Giannis. He's putting up like very good all around numbers, and his growth from what would people call a sophomore slump to where he is right now, he's like the best player coming out of his class. I think that he deserves to be there. But if I did have to have one snub on the East side, Porzingis. Shout out to Jared Allen though. He after seeing him especially this past weekend, he show him some love.
TV, I think that's a great one, and we brought up Jared Allen when we were talking about when we put our All-Star reserves together. That was one of the guys we were both reluctant to leave off. And when you look at what the Cavaliers have been able to do over not one, not two, we're talking about like over not just like the last 2 weeks. We're talking like over the last month.
Last almost like month and a half. They're number 2 in the East.
TV. Okay, take a stroll down memory lane with me for a second.
Yeah.
There was a couple of episodes back when, probably further than that, back when we initially got the news of Evan Mobley and Darius Garland missing significant time. And the first thing that me and you said was that we were concerned about our over-under picks. Do you remember? Because me and you were talking about how actually I think we both leaned slight over because we believe, or at least I can speak for myself, lean slight over because we believe as regular season teams that they were built to basically just beat up on teams all year long, considering they were going to have one of the better defensive units in the NBA, and they had Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Now it's even more insane because through those injuries, they've discovered a completely different play style that makes them almost as dangerous as when they're fully healthy.
Yeah,
which feels crazy, right? But at the same time, like if you can turn Sam Merrill into a gangster from beyond the arc.
Oh, as a Raptor fan, I freaking hate this dude.
It's like, bro, so I think I saw something. Well, I think you shared the stat that like per 36, he was like on par with like MVP Steph from beyond the arc or something crazy like that. Like insane, this team has found a way to reinvent themselves as rather than being a points in the paint juggernaut. They have now been able to create a more like 5-out, like 3-point barrage based offense. Yeah. It's going to be interesting how this specifically to see the reintegration of Evan Mobley, who has a few games under his belt since returning back from injury, right? Yeah. And Darius Garland is back now as well. I think he still has a little bit of lingering with the jaw thing, but obviously it's not impeding him too much. But they're going to be an interesting team to keep an eye out on. Jared Allen is a guy who I think if the All-Star voting was about a week or two later,
you could have made the argument.
When we were talking about that reserve, somebody was going to be in trouble. Somebody was going to be in trouble.
Yeah, shout out to those guys, especially on the East and especially the West side. Those were the ones that definitely were left off. Let us know down below. Who are some other stuff that you think were left off in terms of the East and Western Conference All-Stars?
Yeah.
Moving away quickly from the All-Star talk, we're going to be doing sort of an NBA Valentine's Day segment because this is coming out on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to those who are celebrating. But me and Jay here are going to be playing NBA Cupid in sort of ways because the buyout market is going right now. It is definitely in action, especially with the signings of Spencer Dinwiddie to the Lakers. You had Bismack Biyombo signing with the what team just signed him? I think it was the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those Oklahoma City Thunder, and you have Thaddeus Young signing today. So the buyout market is definitely in effect, and so we're gonna be looking at some of those guys and trying to find them the perfect teams for them, but also looking at some upcoming free agents for this offseason as well. We got 5 guys here, and we're going to try to basically be NBA Cupid and try to find them the best places they can be at. So, Jay, I'm going to throw you some names. Tell me which team you want them to see them at. Starting off, Danilo Gallinari. So released by the Pistons on the buyout market. Where would you want to see Gallo go?
Gallo is a very interesting player because he's a guy who is like sneakily been able to learn how to play like small ball 5.
Yes.
Like over the last 2 seasons or so. I'm gonna be honest with you. There are two places that come to mind for me. The first place is Golden State. They need front court help terribly. I love the rise of Jonathan Kuminga, who I guess Steve Kerr finally found out could play basketball if you give him more minutes. We're not even going to get into that today because it's not even worth the time. But
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins has also kind of slowly but surely revitalized himself. But I think that they just need a different dynamic, especially from a switchability standpoint, because Kevon Looney just can't. He just cannot
Yeah.
do it. And I don't know if Trace Jackson Davis is ready for the kind of push that the Golden State Warriors need to make. And then the other team that I think is kind of interesting for them, for when you look at what Gallo provides, I think he could be an interesting Dallas Mavericks team. I don't know if they need to lean any further into the front court after what their trade deadline looked like, but I just do feel like he provides a certain kind of versatility and floor spacing that can just be another reliable hot hand for rotation in Dallas that I think could go still a strong 7 or 8 deep in the postseason with their current roster. Now they're pretty banged up, right? They've been missing Kyrie a lot. Dante Exum has missed time. Maxi Kleber and those guys. Like, let's be honest, a lot of their trade deadline was kind of almost built around the fact that they know their front court is very injury prone.
Yes.
But I think beyond that, I think in the process of losing guys like Seth Curry and even Grant Williams to a less degree, they've lost a little bit of exterior punch, which is where I think a guy like Danilo Gallinari could be a little helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like the addition to the Warriors, especially just because, like you mentioned, small ball five sort of minutes. You can play Kuminga to play a lot of that defensive role. I think that he would be a great fit there. But honestly, another fit for me that I could see him going to, the LA Clippers. I feel like a team like the LA Clippers could really use him, especially when you have defensive presences like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. You have some of the guys there who can play defense well, and Terrence Mann. Gallinari could just slot in right there. A lot of those guys can carry the defensive load, and he's just gonna be able to just stretch the floor and just like find himself in good positions. And like he's just what he's really good at, especially is just knowing where he should be on the floor to provide the best option for his team. That's just like moving around from place to place, knowing where his best spots are. And he's freaking like 6'10", 6'11". He can shoot over like 70-80% of the league. And this includes centers, by the way. So I think that ultimately, yeah, the Mavericks is a good choice. The Warriors are a good choice. But I think the Clippers there, especially when you look at like the 3-point shooting ability he can offer, I think he would be a good fit there.
I think the only other team that I have in mind, just based off of your explanation, which actually kind of helped me process this, is the Denver Nuggets can't really afford to have DeAndre Jordan backup center minutes in the playoffs, right? Like, I know that Nikola Jokic could play 48 minutes if you asked him, but like realistically, when he gets a breather, you're not gonna want DeAndre Jordan playing backup center minutes, like even for a 6 to 7 minute stretch over the course of any game in a series.
Yes.
And then I think you double down with that by saying that like Zeke Naji has not been reliable like practically since being drafted.
Exactly, yeah. So I think, that's definitely a good choice too. By the way, Clippers and Denver Nuggets, both reunion teams for freaking Gallinari.
Right.
There. So yeah, those are good choices. Basically, what we're saying is that a contender could use someone like Gallinari. Any sort of like top team can use someone like a Danilo Gallinari. So those are definitely some good choices. Moving on to the next guy. I had to put him in because we had Thaddeus Young in earlier, and like I mentioned, he signed with the Suns. So I had to insert this guy in instead, Marcus Moore Sr. Jay, where would be a destination where you would like to see him at?
Dude, I have no clue where he like fits in a way where he can like stick. I mean, he could be an interesting like Brooklyn Nets team. Which is kind of sad because I do think that I don't know. I just don't think he can provide a kind of punch that you're looking for that like on a contending team, you're like, oh yeah, he's a guy who can give us 10 to 12 minutes and like give us a basket that we, just like give us some offensive punch. Cause that's clearly what you would be looking for from him is another offensive impact. I would say Minnesota, but I really think that Minnesota already has a good thing going right now for themselves, especially in terms of their
Yeah,
front court rotation. I
yeah.
don't know, man. Marcus Morris is in a tough spot. I think he's going to end up, just kind of playing for like a middling team, like a San Antonio or something like that, where, you know,
Yeah. No, no, that's definitely an interesting, like, definitely interesting spot for him. For me, what his value is now is basically his grittiness. Like, he's like his offensive ability that we've seen in like the Clippers in past days, back when he was a Phoenix Sun. Like those days are kind of behind him at this point. So I think like probably the best places to is somewhere where his type of attitude and grittiness will kind of spread out to the rest of the roster. So I'm just looking at the Miami Heat and I'm looking at the New York Knicks. Just some teams that need a bit of like an extra
the
grit sort
Knicks,
of
though,
player.
TV, the Knicks, I
I
think the
don't know.
Knicks are too
I'm
deep
thinking
for that.
it's more of an end of a bench guy. It's more of like a locker room kind of motivator type guy, just because I feel like
Mm,
Marcus Morris has that sort of role, and I think
mm,
that that sort of energy kind of fits with the Tibbs mindset, if you know what I mean,
yeah.
like trying to get after it. So that's my only reasoning for him. Miami kind of makes more sense. I mean, they brought in his brother, and I think he would basically play the same role as him if he were to be brought onto the Heat. But I just feel like somewhere where his attitude could be embraced, and I think those are really the two teams that can maybe use that.
I think if you're gonna go based off of attitude rather than production, I think you kind of got a little bit of an indicator from what Milwaukee did that maybe they need a little bit of an attitude adjustment with them acquiring Patrick Beverly, who I think, despite all of the connections to Doc Rivers and all of that being probably at the top of the list in the reasons why he was acquired, that and I mean moving off of campaign for Patrick Beverly is a slight upgrade, despite the fact that it might
Yeah.
not feel like it sometimes. But
Hmm.
I do think that another thing about that Patrick Beverly acquisition is the fact that it seemed like, especially on the defensive end, that the Bucks were not playing with the type of ferocity they needed in order to really be able to handle their business. I think they kind of just needed somebody to come in and upset the apple cart. And Patrick Beverly is kind of well known as a guy who can come on the roster and say what the coaches are thinking, or even what other certain players on the team are thinking, and say it without fear. And the one thing is about Patrick Beverly specifically is he's not reprieved of the idea of addressing your star player. And in this
Yeah.
case with the Milwaukee Bucks, they have two, right? So I think that Marcus Morris Sr. also could be in real conversation in this aspect as well. It's just another tough, hard-nosed guy who's not going to let the star players just kind of coast along. So
Yeah.
Milwaukee could be another one if we're going based off an attitude
Maybe.
adjustment as well.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that as well. Just kind of just an extra team that kind of needs a bit more grit. I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks, now that you think about it, need that kind of extra push too. So maybe that could be a choice too. So let us
Mhm.
know down below. I mean, he might be at the end of the road anyway, but let us know if Marcus Morris still has a place on any of these teams in the league. Next player though, you can never have enough of these guys. Joe Harris hasn't played really meaningful basketball in a couple years. Middle there in Detroit after getting a bit of the getting picked up there. Where would you like to see Joe Harris end up landing for the rest of the season?
It's kind of sad because I think like Joe Harris just needs to go somewhere where he can just shoot the dog water out the ball. So like New Orleans needs shooting, Orlando needs shooting, Indiana needs to really make up their mind after moving on Buddy Hield, which I thought was super weird considering the fact that acquiring Pascal felt like an addition to having a guy like Buddy Hield on the roster along with Tyrese Halliburton.
Mhm.
Clearly, there must have been more of like a contract dispute problem in terms of
Yeah,
the fact that I believe he's an unrestricted free agent
he's
this
unrestricted. Yeah,
offseason.
he
Yeah.
is.
So whatever team goes, I mean, he's on Philly, so they'll have his bird rights. It's not very
Yeah,
helpful considering their financial situation because they're trying to have cap space this summer, obviously,
yeah,
right? The Paul Georges of the world still are potential out there. But Buddy Hield no longer be on this team, and their supplement for that being Doug McDermott
yeah,
feels like there's not enough there. And I feel as though they're definitely betting on Benedict Mathurin to really step up in a real way at the two guard position.
yeah. He's kind of struggling too. He's been kind of struggling this year.
Yeah, I'm a little fearful about what it was that they did. I get the idea of maybe being a little worrisome about whatever Buddy's number is going into the summer, but I feel like they should have at least seen what a postseason with him on the roster next to Tyrese and Pascal looks like. Because like he was, I hate to be disrespectful to Benedict, but I think he was easily their best two guard this year, right? And
Oh no,
I
for
love
sure.
Andrew Dimard as well. He's probably going to get a lot more minutes at the two guard position for the rest of the year to kind of offset. But this team needs 3-point shooting, and I don't think Doug McDermott is like enough to supplement that. I don't know if Joe Harris and Doug McDermott is enough to supplement, losing out on Buddy Hield. But I feel like you have to try to bolster up your perimeter shooting in some way after you let go of somebody like Buddy. So that's like the only place that really sticks to me.
I don't mind that either. I think especially with the high pace thing that high pace tempo that the Pacers play at, all he has to do is kind of run to his spots on the 3-point line and they'll find him every single time. I mean, Tyrese is like probably the best playmaker in the league, so he'll do that for you. I think that's a great spot for myself. I pick Orlando just because they need offense, man. They have one of the top defenses in the league, but they just need some like extra shooting, and you're gonna see a theme with this going forward. But Joe Harris, even at least for the rest of the season, just have him go out there, attempt like 6 to 8 threes a game. He'll probably hit like at least 38% of them, which is going to be extremely helpful for this Magic team. So I'll probably stick with that. But I also think that the playmaking ability and New Orleans can also help him there as well. So either one of those teams, I'll stick with Orlando just because I think they just need an extra scoring boost from the 3-point line. But again, those other options in the Pacers and Pelicans are good as well. Moving past these buyout guys, we're going to talk about a couple guys that are becoming free agents in the offseason. Starting off with kind of the poster child for the Hit Your Free Throws pod, DeMar DeRozan, being an unrestricted free agent this summer. Jay, where would you see DeMar DeRozan like the best spot for him this summer?
I pray it's the Bulls because I don't know what the hell else we doing right now. But if I'm being realistic though, obviously the Lakers are interesting, right? Because they still desperately need shot creation. The team that I also think is really dope for him that has been brought up in the past is Brooklyn. I think that in general, they just need a dude. Like they just need a guy, right? A guy who just is the lead shot creator on this team because we saw that breakout season from Mikal Bridges and everybody kind of viewed that as like the potential for him to kind of like ascend into like this next all-star wing. And that's just not translated the way we all expected it to. Actually, if anything, Mikal Bridges' defense is significantly regressed, and he's not nearly the kind of on-ball offensive presence that we thought he was going to slowly become after what we saw in his short stint when Devin Booker was out and things of that nature on the back end of when he was with the Suns. And then, of course, the majority of the time frame when he was with Brooklyn last year. It seems like a lot of that stuff wasn't linear progression, and there's been a lot of plateau, if not, linear progression. And if anything, there's been more of a plateau, if not a regression, coming off last year. They kind of need a dude. And I just feel like Brooklyn is like quietly like a sleeping giant to get somebody because there has to be a reason why everybody continues to view Mikal Bridges as this like untouchable player, considering his age, how favorable his contract would be in the trade market. Like, I think we all still kind of agree that he would fit best as like the third guy on a championship caliber team. But there's kind of like this calling lately that people believe that people want to play with Mikal Bridges. I think it was Damian Lillard who said when he was originally putting out teams that like Brooklyn and Miami were the two, right? So there's this notion that star players would want to play with Mikal Bridges and things of that nature. So maybe that's what makes him still so valuable. But if we're just talking about overall productivity, they clearly need a number one and maybe a number two. I think that you could get at least the number two in DeMar DeRozan on a pretty respectable contract. And of course, I think the biggest fish that they're still flying around with is Donovan Mitchell. So there's a lot to look at. But Brooklyn is the team if it's not the Bulls to me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good choice. Ideally, the Bulls keep him because, like you mentioned, what else?
What the hell else is supposed to happen, TV?
They're clearly not going in the direction that everyone thinks they should go. So at that point, you're forced to do this, right? So that's kind of like the best fit. But man, when I tell you that I think the Raptors bringing him back could really
Hmm.
help out the leadership situation there. At least get a mature voice in there. I think that would be great for Toronto to bring him back. A 2 year, like 45 to kind of $50 billion deal to kind of lure him back. I just think, especially from like what I've seen this weekend, is that we don't really have a mature voice in the locker room, someone who has been through kind of the ups and downs. And I could tell with the frustration in Scotty that now that he's the number one guy and defenses are really honing in on his abilities, he's
Hmm.
struggling a little bit. And you know who had to deal with that early on in his career? DeMar DeRozan. I
Yeah.
think someone like that would be vital. I mean, absolutely vital to Scotty's development. I think that he's still got some good years in him where he can still be productive. And coming to a Toronto team where they have quickly, who's turning into a very good playmaker, RJ Barrett and Scotty, DeMar could either just be that playmaker, like he's transcended into a very good playmaker, someone who can just get you a bucket whatever you want, and also can just be just a reasonable voice in the locker room that Masai and the rest of the Raptors crew already know, like basically a lot of the front office dudes. So I think that if not Chicago, which they would be stupid if they just did whatever and not bring him back, but bring him back to Toronto to kind of be that voice of reason in the locker room when things start to go bad, I think it would be a great choice there.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, getting a get a bucket guy is still very valuable in this league,
Yeah.
right? So like I think at the end of the day on a 2 year like deal, like a 2 year respectable deal, he could definitely be serviceable somewhere as a get a bucket guy. I think even like if he really wants to get back to the California roots and that Lakers are not the one, I think that the Kings actually would be another really interesting one when you look at the fact that I love the guy, but we understand that Harrison Barnes is on borrowed time, right? We
Yeah.
just understand that he's on borrowed time. DeMar DeRozan has played the 3 before. Shoot, he's played the 4 before playing with San Antonio, right? So we know that there's a little bit of versatility offensively there. We know there's a ton of 3-point shooting around him in Sacramento, which would make up for the fact that he's so like mid-range centric.
Mm-hmm.
So Sacramento would also be another interesting one if a team like the Lakers didn't work out, because I don't think he can go to the Clippers. I don't think that
Yeah.
they're financially organized to be able to
Yeah.
do that with James Harden. Obviously Kawhi Leonard already getting extension, Paul George being in discussion. They kind of just have too much lined up with their main guys. So I think that, like I said, if you still wanted to go the California route, Sacramento would be interesting, and like I said, that Brooklyn thing is also another one. The Toronto homecoming would also be super dope. Um, I hate to gas all of this though, because at the end of the day, like I said, what the hell else are you supposed to do as the Chicago Bulls if you
Yeah.
let him walk?
Yeah, it is the Bulls because the Bulls have put themselves
Yeah,
corner to like they have to do this. They have to
right.
back.
It's like, what else was the other plan? Like it clearly. I mean, the incompetence is already there, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, it makes even less sense what has happened if you are unable to retain him. And I feel like that should have already been indicated by the fact that they had contract negotiations in terms of in terms of getting an extension done, and had still not been able to come to an agreement 50 something games into the season. You would think we would have some kind of like wherewithal that
Yeah.
maybe, just maybe, this dude could walk away. We've literally watched dudes TV. I'm talking to a Raptors fan right now. We've watched dudes walk away for nothing, and we've seen the value they provide on other teams, right?
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet is a perfect example. He's been injured as of late for the Houston Rockets, but I would make a very strong argument that Fred VanVleet has quietly become one of the most important players on the Rockets, because although Alperen Sengun is clearly the most talented, I think that Fred VanVleet's presence on the Rockets has been able to give the Rockets organization a better understanding of who core fits.
Maturity.
There you
Maturity on the
go.
roster.
Most important thing, grown adult in the room, like you said
Yeah.
beforehand. We've seen that kind of impact. I think the flip side of it is also understanding, like we saw what OG Anunoby went for. Granted,
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan would not go for that considering age discrepancy,
Yeah.
things of that nature. But we saw what OG Anunoby went for. We saw what Pascal Siakam goes for. When you're looking at the circumstances of these guys are on an expiring contract, they can provide for you right now as a player that can play for you going into the postseason, a la OG with the Knicks, a la Pascal with Indiana. DeMar DeRozan could have really been serviceable to a playoff team for half this season and already have him in the building with very good aspirations to re-sign him. Now you just get to let him walk out on the market and go figure it out for himself. I think the Bulls have to be the team that retains him, but Lord, if there's a bidding war, we are in trouble. That's all I gotta say.
I feel you. All right, man. Last guy on the list, Gary Trent Jr. Again, the Raptors. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent as well going into this offseason. And the Raptors had every chance to move him, and he's still on the roster after 2 straight trade deadlines. It feels like as a Raptor fan, his time might be up, but maybe the Raptors are forcing him into an extension. Jay, where do you think he would be best fit this offseason?
I think he's an interesting Pistons guy. I'm surprised that it took this long, but then again, I'm not. The Pistons finally just found out that shooting and defensive-oriented wings win basketball games. Like,
like basketball fit, like fit of players on a team. They finally figured that out. Yeah.
Hey, I don't know who called Troy Weaver's phone and finally like informed him that like second stash big men is not the wave. But
this man thought it was 2K and he can like just develop like these bigs into like 80-something overalls, like and just forget about like team structure and everything.
I have no idea what the ideology was, and despite the fact that I thought Detroit quietly had a really strong deadline, I feel like Troy Weaver's job still should not be safe. If anything, the news came out that Mitch Kupchak, the head of basketball operations for the Charlotte Hornets, stepped down. That should be the Detroit Pistons calling card to say, you know what? It's okay. Because I believe Charlotte had a really strong trade deadline as well. I think despite the fact that they didn't necessarily acquire players. Actually, I think they did. If you look at everybody that they did acquire at the trade deadline, their roster is clearly better than when they were playing like not Nick Richards. When they were playing, man, they had a bunch of guys who they just don't need to play. I don't want to like go down and start naming a bunch of dudes who maybe shouldn't be playing basketball for them. But there was a lot of incompetency on their bench, and then all of a sudden you get Grant Williams, you get Seth Curry, you bring in all of these dudes, and all of a sudden you have like what's my boy's name? Micic. Came in and dropped 18 and 9 or something like that in his debut game. Like you get competent basketball play while also being able to make future moves. I think that despite the fact that Mitch Kupchak had a pretty solid trade deadline before stepping away, him being moved off was the right move. Troy Weaver had a good trade deadline, and he still should be moved off of. Like, that's just how it should be. But I think that Detroit finally found out that shooting and wing play is very important in this league when they decided to get my boy Simone Fontecchio, as well as grabbing Quentin Grimes, who's dealing with a little bit of an injury, so that would be tricky to see how he gets integrated into the lineup. But those are two guys that sound defensively and can shoot the ball. Like Gary Trent, I think he's probably a little bit underwhelming defensively, but competitive defensively and can shoot the ball. Like, I think he could be a pickup. It depends on how they decide to throw their money, though, because Detroit feels like a team that, like, if Charlotte is unable to retain Miles Bridges, there could be a lot of interesting things there where Detroit could throw a bag at a guy like Miles Bridges, a dude who went to Michigan State, has Michigan background, and does suffice at the 3 position, which is still arguably their weakest position on the roster. So there's a lot to like. But in terms of Gary Trent, what he brings to the table, 3-point shooting, like we mentioned before.
Honestly, him going to a team like this, like especially like as someone like where he's gonna be able to get his shots up, but also like play again like with an elite point guard like Kate Cunningham could do him wonders on that team. But also a team like the Magic. I mean, this should be the long-term move to Orlando Magic to go after someone like Gary Trent Jr., someone whose value might be a little bit low right now, so you might be able to get him for what many thought would be, cheaper than what was expected maybe a couple years ago for his ceiling. But go after him, someone who's willing to shoot the ball and willing to just like put the ball up there, because they just need some more guys like who are not Wagner and Paolo Banchero getting some offense up. They
Yeah.
have such a good defense. They just need some guys that are able to take the pressure off of them and have someone like respectable out there in the perimeter. And I think Gary Trent Jr. can provide that for them. That or the Detroit Pistons, I think, like again, a good fit with Kate Cunningham. Maybe you would want like a better playmaker beside Gary in that point guard position, but I think that he would be the perfect kind of fourth option offensively on an Orlando Magic team if they decide to go that direction.
I think they should be swinging for bigger fish, especially for that point guard position, because at some point they're going to have to consolidate it, and they're going to have to make some choices. Like Markelle Fultz, unrestricted free agent. Cole Anthony, they're probably going to want to retain him. Obviously, Jalen Suggs is definitely a part of their long-term plans, and Anthony Black, you would assume, is a part of their long-term plans. But I still feel as though they're missing a punch at point guard that they desperately need. I don't know why Toronto would let Gary Trent walk. I understand a lot of the weird circumstances regarding contract negotiations between
Yeah.
Toronto and Gary, but the 3-point shooting is necessary, like at the end of the day. And if we're being honest, when I look at teams like Toronto, for example, who grabbed Grady Dick, or Orlando, who grabbed Jet Howard, both of them have to be kicking themselves for not grabbing Jordan Hawkins at this moment.
Yes.
So when you look back and reflect on those draft choices, I think you kind of need to further look yourself in the mirror and understand that this 3-point shooting issue is a problem. Yes, you tried to address it. Unfortunately, you might not have grabbed the best option to address the problem, but that means you have guys already in-house that do at least suffice in those circumstances. I don't think you can just let them walk away. And Gary Trent is he you guys' best 3-point shooter statistically
No,
at the moment?
I will say this. I did have a lot of problems with Grady early on in the season, but over the last 10 games or so, I don't know what happened. Apparently, he got into some like program, like a 12-day program with Darko Rajokovic, but
Mm-hmm.
he has been a lot, and I mean a lot better. Like he
Mm,
was probably like one of the best players I've seen over the weekend, and the way he like his game has completely changed from what I've like watched earlier on in the year. So
okay.
I think why the Raptors would maybe give up Gary Trent is because to maybe make way for Grady Dick, because I think he's finally starting to find his confidence, and I think
Got
that
you.
like he's a rookie. He's gonna have some struggles early on, so I think he's finally finding his groove. So if that means like giving Grady more opportunities, I'm completely cool with that. But if you are still thinking that he can still be a good trade piece going forward, I would try and bring him back as well, just because we do have like a big problem with shooting, and we do need some guys to put a shot up, even though he has not been great this year. So yeah, I think like a team like Orlando, if the Raptors can resign him, sure. The Detroit Pistons, I think those would be great places for Gary Trent Jr. Let us know down below where do you want any of these guys. Play your own type of Cupid game and see what would be the best place for all these guys to go, either in the buyout market or this coming off season.
Mm.
Moving back into the topic of NBA All-Star Weekend, we're gonna just be kind of going through like what to expect for each of the days. Of course, on Friday night we got the celebrity game. I feel like every single year the celebrities just keep getting worse and worse. I'll watch the game, but I mean, maybe I know a lot of people won't, but I'll watch the game. But man, these celebrities are getting a lot more worse. We need them to go back to New York or Los Angeles to have these guys care about this again. But yeah, that's going on. But also the Rising Stars game, and if you remember the last couple of years, they're doing that whole legends coach and stuff like that. So they have this year Team Pau, Team Tamika, Team Jalen, and Team Detlef Schrempf. I don't know. Jay, you have the team in front of you. I don't know, if any of these teams kind of like stand out to you like compared to the rest.
Let me. Do you already have some thoughts? I still need to kind of
I,
go down the rosters.
on low key, I think like and everyone like thinks this too. Pal's team is legit, and I think in terms of top end talent, but also just like fit on the roster. Because I think they have a bit of everything. They got the ball handling in Case and Wallace. They have the shooting in Brandon Miller, Jabari Smith Jr. They got, the extra hustle guys who just know when to get their buckets. Bilal Coulibaly, who's a great defender. Jaime Jaquez, Brandon Projensky. And then they got the big man, the best player probably out of anyone here, the man who just got a triple-double with blocks, Victor Wembanyama. I think by a by a reasonable margin, I think that Powell's team is the best here. But shout out to
I
Tamika's though.
think if
Tamika's
you're
is
gonna
low
go
key.
with T, Yeah, I was gonna say Tamika's definitely a good one. If you're gonna go with Team Pow, I'm actually gonna go with my team. I'm gonna go with the namesake for myself. I'm gonna go with Team Jalen on this one actually. The double OKC guys with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams should make things really interesting on that end. Walker Kessler and Derek Lively and Chet Holmgren as their
Yo,
way
my
to
man
be
has
able to
3 7-footers on his team.
clearly clearly Team Jalen took into account that Victor Wembanyama is 7'4". That's all I'm gonna say in terms of the center selection. And then I mentioned him earlier on. Obviously, Shaden Sharp is not gonna play, but Jordan Hawkins can shoot the absolute piss out of the ball. So the only thing I'm a little worried about for Team Jalen is I'm worried about offensive creation on the perimeter. Like Jalen Williams might arguably be their best ball handler, but I
Yeah, which is
think
kind of tough. Which is
because
kind of tough.
yeah, but I think because of that, I think this is a game where Chet Holmgren is going to ball. I think this is an area where Chet Holmgren is going to ball out. I think a lot of people have started to slowly move towards the Wemby train after like his last, let's say,
Two
2 to 3 weeks in
Oh yeah,
particular. I mean, it's been a little bit longer than that,
yeah,
but I think his last 2 to 3 weeks in particular is when the narrative has
yeah,
really shifted, where people have gone back to it's Wemby's to lose. I
yeah,
think this is another one of those very big stages where Chet Holmgren can kind of step back up to the plate because I do feel like he is a legitimate candidate, and I feel like he shouldn't be disregarded as the front runner so easily. I think it is okay to lean back in favor of Victor Wembanyama, and don't sleep on Brandon Miller either, who's also on that same team, like you mentioned with Team
yeah.
Pal. Brandon Miller has been on a terror the last month, by the way, but I think that this is a big stage for Chet Holmgren, particularly because I think that this is an area where if he goes bonkers, especially because we want to see it. Let's be honest. We
Yeah.
want to see it. We want to see like the Tim Hardaway versus
Yeah,
Dion Waiters
waiters sort of
of
thing.
big
Yeah.
men in this challenge, bro.
Oh,
We
that'd be
want to
insane.
see it.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I'm looking for. I mean, it's a nice little change, which makes it a bit more entertaining. But yeah,
Mhm.
we want to see Chet and freaking Wemby in the finals. That's what we're all looking for,
Yeah,
and
of
hopefully we
course.
get that, especially. All right, moving on to Saturday night. Of course, you got the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest. Starting out the skills challenge, we'll go through this quickly. We got three team number one overall picks of Paolo, Anthony Edwards, and Victor Wembanyama. We have team, what is it? Team All Stars. Kind of a dead team name, not gonna lie. But my boy Scotty's there alongside Tyrese Maxey and Trey Young. And then you got Team Indiana, of course, shouting out the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Bandic Mather, and Miles Turner. I mean, it's really whoever could win this. But like, how do you feel at least about the star talent in this?
I mean, the star talent is dope. If I had to pick a winner, I'm gonna go with Team All Stars. I feel like that three ball is gonna be super important. I feel like I'm kind of beyond the whole like the passing, dribbling skill
Yeah,
thing. I think that three ball is gonna always be the biggest one. And Trey Young is on the squad, so I think that's going to be really beneficial for them. I think the sleeping giant in all of this is Benedict Mathurin. I feel like he's a guy who we always end up talking about as being super competitive, and this being one of the real ways post trade deadline to kind of put himself back on the map. I don't feel like All-Star Weekend should be overblown, but I do think that for certain young players in particularly,
hmm
the productivity that you get, the certain love that you get in these kind of environments, it does really help boost your mindset. I mean, we've seen this in a lot of different ventures just over the last couple of seasons, right? We saw Jalen Green, his
hmm
rookie year, coming off of the All-Star break, bursted onto the scene after the All-Star break. Kobe White, a season
yeah,
or two ago, after the All-Star break, balled out. Obviously, I think he should be the leading player for most improved, but
fair.
that's the only good thing going for the Bulls right now.
Yeah,
But nonetheless, so I think that Benedict Mathurin could be a sleeping giant in terms of the skills challenge. But if I had to pick a winner, I'm going with Team All Stars.
yeah, I like that team as well. I don't know if you remember this from a couple years ago, but I think Scotty and Tyrese Maxey had that little thing during the Rising Stars game, and they had to hit that floater, and none of them could
Oh
hit the
yeah.
floater thing. So it's a nice little reunion over there. But if I don't know, I like anything with like Wembanyama on a team. Imagine him and Anthony Edwards. That team seems legit to me. I'll go with them. But of course, I know Indiana, the Team Pacers are the ones who have probably the most to gain here. So they're probably the ones who are going to be trying the hardest. Let's be honest, out of
Yeah.
all these teams. Next up, the 3-point contest. Man, this is a stacked field. I absolutely love this contest. It always delivers every single year. We got Malik Beasley. We got Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, the defending champion Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, and Trae Young. Jay, how you feeling about the field?
This field is crazy, TV. We were talking about this off camera. This you can build a pretty dope all-star starting five out of this group. Like, this is a good little group.
Yeah, except for Malik Beasley, yeah, everyone else, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He can come off the bench. But pretty much. Like, I mean, it really is your pick of the litter. I think this is a really interesting group. The star power is definitely there. That's what the 3-point shooting contest needs. And of course, the most important thing, shout out to Dame Lillard for coming back to defend the title.
Yeah, 100%. He went absolutely bonkers last year. And remember this too. Tyrese Halliburton had that one round last year where he went absolutely off. And people were looking at that whack jumper and was thinking, like, how is this going in? He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league for a reason, and I'm glad he's coming back. Honestly, in this contest, I might back Cat again. I remember this was like a couple of years ago where he kind of had like a big turnout as well. But Cat in this competition, I feel like when he's hot, he's gonna be on a burner. So I think Karl Anthony Towns maybe becoming a 2-time champ here on Saturday night could definitely be a possibility. But there's so many good options here, even going all the way to the bottom. And Trae Young, Trae Young is gonna be like absolutely going off in this. And don't sleep on Malik Beasley, man. Don't sleep on that guy. This guy could definitely pull it off as well. Last but not least, the dunk contest. We got Jacob Toppin. Yes, the Knicks, not Obi Toppin. Jacob Toppin, a man who's played 4 minutes so far in his NBA career. We have Jaime Jaquez Jr. We have the defending champion, shout out to him, Mac McClung, who has not played a single NBA minute this year. But for the first time in forever, we have an all-star. Jaylen Brown has joined the competition. Thoughts on this dunk contest?
Stinky dunk contest. Stinky dunk contest. Very stinky dunk contest. I mean, shout out to Mac McClung for coming back. He's definitely gonna put on for one. It's gonna be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, these are all guys that are definitely leapers. Fun fact: Jaime Jaquez has won a dunk contest before. I think it was back in high school, and he actually went up against some pretty interesting folks in the process and when winning. So he can really get like that. I think he was like actually top 3 at the combine and certain stuff like standing reach and stuff. Sneaky athlete. He doesn't come off as a guy who's going to be able to burst and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff around the rim. But I think we're going to see at least 1 or 2 dunks that are going to be like, 550s that we just didn't expect from him. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. The main guy I'm watching for, though, is Jaylen Brown, bro. You're the all-star of the group. These other 3 guys, let's be real. Jaime Jaquez is probably the only other notable guy in the group outside of the fact that Mac McClung is coming off of winning the winning the dunk contest last year. But in terms of actual NBA talent, Jaime Jaquez is the only other guy even notable in this group. If we're going to put an all-star in this group, show out. Otherwise, you're going to remind us why all-stars don't do these dunk contests anymore.
100%. I agree with that. Honestly, in terms of the dunk contest, again, going into this contest with very, very low expectations. But all we need is 2, man. We don't need all 4 to be great. We just need a great final 2, a great showdown at the end. And if that can happen, preferably Mac McClung and Jaylen Brown. But if that can happen, then I think that's going to be very good. And if Jaylen Brown ends up winning, maybe that could be the start of maybe guys, being, you know what, this is great for the brand. This is great just to get like some like more eyes on the product in terms of NBA All-Star Saturday night, try to revive the dunk contest again, get some more stars into it. Hopefully Jaylen Brown can show out and, again, like you mentioned, can maybe bring some more prestige back to the dunk contest with having some, like, at least a all-star in there as well. Hopefully some other guys can, like, join in afterwards. And then, of course, we have the All-Star game. When you're looking at West and East, I mean, we mentioned the rosters earlier. Any sort of favorite there?
The West has an all-star team that didn't make the all-star game. So I'm going to go with the guys. I'm going to go with the guys that have a bench with the bench.
Fair. That's fair. I I think they're still doing like what is it the I think the scoring quarters where if you win each quarter they're
I
gonna like
believe so.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then they're gonna
Elam ending game. Yeah.
the Elam ending is like there's a 24 or something. You have to score 24 points or something for the Elam ending. So yeah, if that's the case, then maybe the East will show out. But I think honestly, shout out to the East. They have a bunch of young guys in that team that maybe want to like make a name for themselves here.
Mm-hmm.
So like really put a mark on it. Especially with the West, they have a bunch of like older guys who you might they might phone it in, that sort of thing. So maybe the team that's hungry gets the win here. So I'll put my money on the East. We're gonna be doing some crazy pick challenge over this weekend, so be on the lookout for that as well. Let us know down below your thoughts on NBA All-Star Weekend. Do they have to make any changes or anything? To let us know down below. Maybe that could be a discussion for another video. Jay, let's move on to the next topic of the show, and we're going to be heading into the hit your free throw staples, and we're going to be starting off with the NBA draft. And we've been doing NBA draft classes over these last couple of weeks, but today, Jay, let's reminisce. We had the NBA All-Star draft going on for years now. I thought it was a great fun watch, but they got rid of it this year to go back to the basic of basketball and try and go back to East versus West. But that's not stopping us. We have the 2 full rosters. We're going to be drafting the best team possible like we did last year and see if we can draft the best All-Star team possible as if they were doing it in years before. Let's see if Team J versus Team TV, who has the better roster with the guys on the Eastern and Western Conference All-Stars as our player pool. Jay, how do you feel about it going into this year? It's like the second year we're doing this.
Man, I am really intrigued by this one. Obviously, the reserves aspect of this makes it really interesting. There are still guys that obviously I hate did not make the list, but nonetheless, I feel like this is going to be an insane pool, and it will be funny to see who gets picked last because I don't believe there's necessarily a Julius Randle in this group.
Yep. Speaking of that, Julius Randle and Joel Embiid will not be in the All-Star game, so they're not going to be part of the pool, which means Bam Adebayo moves into the starter pool, and then Scotty Barnes and Trae Young are on the East reserves. You know how this goes. Jay has the first pick. I get the next two. We're going to run it serpentine style all the way through.
All right.
So, Jay, you get the first overall pick. Who do you want from the starter pool? We're starting from the starters, going to the bench.
Man, I'm going to go with my dog, the dude who I still believe is the best player in the NBA at the moment. Let me get Jokic.
Jokic off the board. Absolutely love to see that. I'm going to go with a guy who should be up there in MVP voting. I think he doesn't get enough love still. I don't think he's even top 3 in this week's MVP ladder, but I still think he's having an MVP level season. Give me Giannis.
I'm gonna go with.
Oh shit! I get back to. Oh, I get back.
Oh yeah, you get back to back, right? Yeah.
Ooh, I get back to back.
I forgot we were doing it that way. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Giannis, and then I'm gonna pair him up, bro. We're gonna have the top 3 picks go all European. Give me Luka Doncic.
Jesus, man, that's brutal. All right. Let me get my dog Kevin Durant.
Yes.
And let me get SGA.
No, I was hoping I would slip a little bit more, but he is off the board. Great choice over there. For myself, I get back-to-back choices. You know what? We need a guard who's going to be able to feed these. You know what? Just in case it gets to the Elam ending, I think this is a guy that fits it perfectly. Let me go with Damian Lillard, and also let me add a Jason Tatum into this.
Oh man, that's good. All right. It's probably about that time where Giannis comes off the board, right?
No, yeah, I got Giannis first pick.
Oh no, you got Giannis first pick. That's right.
Yeah.
Dang. Wait a minute. Oh, you know what? The person I'm really tripping on. It's probably about that time that LeBron James comes off the board, correct?
Yes, LeBron James off the board. Yeah.
Seems about that time.
Yeah.
And then oh man.
Well, I mean, there's only 2 starters left. It's Tyrese Halliburton or Bam Adebayo. So
right.
Yeah.
I'm about to say it kind of seems easy to just go ahead and go Tyrese at that point.
Yeah, you going Tyrese?
Yeah, got to.
Gotta go Tyrese Halliburton. So which means I end up with Bam Adebayo as my final pick. The starters are complete. Time to go to the bench, which means I am starting with the bench. I get the first pick. Then Jay gets the next 2, and so on and so forth. So for the reserves, my first pick, I am gonna go with. You know what, man? I'm getting all the 3-pointers in this one. Actually, screw it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with all 3 points. Give me Steph Curry as my first guy off the bench.
I gotta get Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell, okay. Donovan Mitchell, great choice. You get back-to-back picks, so you get him and
The other guy I gotta have is go back west real quick. Did we pull D-Book yet?
nah. You can go D-Book.
Wow, that's crazy. I feel like I got mad guards though.
Fair.
Holy cow. Let me get the dude who's shooting 39% from a three like a freaking maniac. Actually, give me PG.
Paul George, love that pick as well. For my next pick, again, I need some. I'm going fully buckets, but also if we get to that Elam ending and you go to that crazy finish, you want one of the best defenders in the league. Let me first get Kawhi Leonard as one of my next picks, and then afterwards, this guy won a freaking All-Star MVP before, so I'm gonna pick him up again. Give me Anthony Davis.
Oh man, that's brutal. That's brutal. Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis back to back is really good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
You get the next. I love how these reserves are very West oriented.
No, for real. Yeah, because let me get D-Book.
Yeah, you got D-Book already? No, or did you not? Oh yeah, you did.
No. Remember, I passed on him for Paul George,
Yeah.
but if he's gonna go this far, might as well. And oh my lord, the forward spot is struggling.
I mean, we got most of the West guys, which is the top ones in the league. So
yeah, for real. I'm not sure if I misheard you. Did you get Paulo yet?
I have not got Paolo.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't mishear you. I'm gonna go ahead and get Paulo here.
Like that. Okay, going with the young guy there. Love to see it. That's great. That's a great choice. Great choice. Next up for me, I get back-to-back picks over here. Man, you know what? Give me Anthony Edwards as my next guy. Give me Ant, and then this is where tough is. But there's no way in hell. Do I do this to him? I'm gonna go Jalen Brunson. I'm going Jalen Brunson.
Who do we have left? Because that's the real question.
We got,
from my understanding.
From my understanding, we have 1, 2, 3, 4
left, right?
We have 4 from the East, and we got one more West guy, so we have 5 in total.
How'd that happen?
The only guy in the West left is Karl Anthony Towns.
Right.
And then we have Scotty. We got Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
We got Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young.
And Trae Young, right?
Yeah. So those are the 5 we got left.
So give me Trae and give me Cat.
Trae and Cat are off the board. I need to. There's no way I'm letting this guy be the last pick. Give me my boy Scotty Barnes. If we got one All-Star, I'm gonna choose him. And then, do I want to hinder your team and just give you another guard, or do I want to help you out and give you a wing? Or I could keep you very small. It feels disrespect to put either of these guys as the last pick. To be fair, you're right. There's no Julius Randle pick this year.
Yeah,
which is hilarious. You know what? Give me Jaylen Brown. I'll get him as another. Yeah, Jaylen Brown. I'll go Jaylen Brown.
That's fair. So I just get the other Tyrese. I already got the first one. So
yeah, there you go. Jay, our teams are complete. Team J versus Team TV. Run me down your team.
Oh man, this team is nuts. I'm not gonna do it by position. I'm just gonna do it in the order that I drafted them.
Yeah.
So the Jalen 2024 All-Star roster is comprised of Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, LeBron James, Tyrese Halliburton, Donovan Mitchell, Paul George, Devin Booker, Paolo Banchero, Trae Young, Karl Anthony Towns, and Tyrese Maxey.
That is a nasty team. For myself, my starters: Giannis, Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Bam Adebayo. Coming off my bench: Steph, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Scotty Barnes, and Jaylen Brown. Look, man, in terms of balance, I love my roster. In
The
terms of
way
balance,
that bench started was so disrespectful. Oh my
Steph,
gosh.
Kawhi, and Anthony Davis is nuts.
Why? Like, oh my Lord. The way that bench started was crazy. Steph, Anthony Davis. I'm like, all right. I was like, okay. This is about to
Going
be a little
crazy.
rough.
But yeah, man, those are our teams. Team J versus Team TV. Let us know down below what you guys think had the better team. Moving on to the final segment of the show, you know it's time for the NBA quiz. And Jay, I got a special one for you today.
Mm.
I'm gonna call this the 5-4-3-2-1 quiz because
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you 5 questions, but each question the number of answers goes down by 1. So the first question is gonna have five answers. The next question is gonna have 4 answers. The next one 3 answers, 2, and then 1, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Okay.
So they're all star and also just very current topic related. So we're gonna be going through all these questions first. So here's the first question, starting off with the 5 answers.
Okay.
Jay, the the 5 players with 4 or more dunk contest appearances in NBA history.
With
4 or
four
more.
or more?
Yes. I'll tell you, there's one guy post 2000, and the rest are all like 90s and 80s dudes, but they're prominent dunkers.
Huh. Jason Richardson?
Jason Richardson is not the post 2000s guy. Nope.
Dang it. I'm not gonna lie. That was the first person I thought of for post 2000. That's funny.
Yeah.
Is Vince here?
Vince is not here. He only participated in one slam dunk contest,
Oh yeah, that's true. Because
and he won
it
it.
was kind of once it was over, it was over.
Over. Yeah.
Um,
This guy, the one post 2000, I think won the dunk contest 2 or 3 times. I mean, I'll tell you, it's not the best dunks, but you when you see the guy, when you see the reason why, like he won it because of his build.
he won it because of his build. Interesting. I'm trying to think of like who like because it's participants, not like they won a million times or
Yeah.
nothing.
So all of these guys, I think 2 of them went in 5 times, and 3 of them went in 4.
Dr. J?
Dr. J, nope.
What? Oh my
Just think of
God.
the guys that went against like Jordan in the dunk contest.
Yeah, but that's like okay, so that's like Dominique though, right? So it's
Dominique,
like
yep, Dominique is one of them. One of the guys who's attended 4 times, so that's one of the
okay.
guys.
What about like it might be stupid because I know he's 1-2, but like how many has Nate Robinson entered?
5.
Wow, let's go.
5. Nate Robinson is the one guy post 2000.
Let's
Look,
go.
man. When I tell you it's not the best dunks, let's be honest. But
Right.
being 5, 5'7", 5'8", whatever it was, and dunking like that, that's how he won the dunk contest. But yeah,
Let's
he's the one guy post
go.
2000. So we have
Oh
3 more guys
my.
left. We
What
have
about
2 guys who played mostly on the same team together, and then you got one, and then you got like one other dude who was prominent in the 90s as well.
Clyde Drexler here?
Clyde Drexler's on the list with 4.
Come on, man. I'm here, bro. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Let's go.
Stick on the Clyde Drexler trail. There's one more guy from his team who entered the dunk contest 4 times.
Oh God. Clyde. Dang, I'm trying to think of like Clyde Drexler teammates. We talking Trailblazers, obviously.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Who am I thinking of? They played on the same freaking team.
A lengthy dude, pretty like he was definitely like hell athletic, but he was more of like he's like a Josh Smith type of build where it's kind of like an athletic forward that can dunk on your head, but who can play some decent defense.
Wow, I feel like I know who you're talking about, and it's gonna bug the hell out of me if I can't come up with who it
The
is.
other guy on this list, of like moving past him, was faced Jordan in the finals once. I think they got absolutely smashed, but he was on the finals team that lost to Jordan.
Sean Kemp?
Sean Kemp.
Oh, okay.
Sean Kemp was
Dang.
on this list.
Dang. How many was he in? 4?
4. Yeah, he's in 4.
Wow.
I think the only 2 5 guys are Wilkins and Nate. Wilkins and Nate are the 2 like 5 5-time like participants. And then the last guy, the Trailblazers teammate of Clyde Drexler, definitely the hardest on the list. His initials, if that helps you, it's JK.
JK. JK. Who is that?
The first name has the same first name as who else has the same yeah, I don't know, like I'm trying to remember guys. I'm trying to think of guys that you might know that like have the same first name as him. He has the same first name as like that boss that got drafted by the Clippers a couple years back, Blank Robinson.
Jerome Robinson?
Yeah, so his first name is that. So like the guy that for this.
Okay.
So it's Jerome K.
I'm diving deep in the well here because I'm trying to remember.
Oh, low-key, I know mostly this guy because of 2K, but yeah, he could just dunk. That's basically his.
Okay, now I only remember this because you said it. Is his last name like Kersey or something like that?
Jerome Kersey. Yep.
All right, cool.
Dunk
Cool,
on
cool.
this
Wait, he was in 4?
He was in 4 of them things.
Jesus, what? Okay, well,
Yeah.
all right.
He didn't win one, but he came there every single time he was invited. All right. Down to number 4. There have been 4 undrafted players since 1990 to make the All-Star team. Who are those 4 players?
Fred
is one of them. Fred VanVleet, the most latest guy. You got 2 more post 2000 and then 190s, dude.
Ben Wallace?
Ben Wallace, another one of the undrafted All-Stars.
The
last 2000 guys is someone close to your heart, Jay.
Oh, Lord. That scares me because I feel like it's somebody like close to my heart. Okay, that's tricky. Because you know how that go. I said that's tricky because you know how that go.
Yeah.
Because the other guy I was going to think wasn't like the first one, like John Starks for the Knicks.
John Starks, yep. John Starks, the 90s dude who made it on the team as an undrafted player. So now you're just missing the last guy from the 2000s.
Is this still the guy that's close to my heart, or did I already bang that out?
No, it's the guy close to your heart. He was a prominent member of the Bulls in one time.
Prominent member of the Bulls.
Did he make an All-Star team when he was with the Bulls?
I was gonna say, was it with the Bulls? That's the question.
He was solid for you guys, but he was a one-time All-Star as a member of the Pacers and as the Kings.
The Pacers and the Kings.
He's a big man.
TV, that's not even funny, bro. I just realized who I think you're talking about. He's not dear to my heart at all. That guy sucked when he played with us. Jumper slow as hell in 2K. You talking about Brad Miller?
Brad Miller.
This is one of the weakest character archetypes on 2K I've ever seen in my life. Just big, long, and lanky for no reason. Mad slow speed. Jumper was mad weak.
Yo, my man had a money mid-range jumper.
No, bro. Jack Sikma had a money mid-range jumper. I don't know what the heck Brad Miller was doing. I don't know what that man was doing.
Man. All right, man. Next one, number 3.
Okay.
3 rookies have had a triple-double with blocks besides Wemby. So name those 3 players.
Heck? Shaq?
Shaq is not one of them. He did in his second year.
That's egregious. Oh. Tim Duncan?
Not Tim Duncan. 3 of these guys are basically 80s, 90s. 3 guys, but these guys are like you should be able to get just because they're like think of guys that are like super tall and just can block shots like crazy in the 80s and 90s.
Oh man, dude.
Think the Tim Duncan path. Not gonna lie. Think Tim Duncan. Think Wemby. Who else would be kind of that lineage? Hakeem did not do it as a rookie, but Hakeem did beat out this man for MVP one year.
What the heck?
But the guy I'm talking about also beat out Hakeem one time in MVP. I think they went like back and forth one year, like in a couple years.
I don't even know if this is related to what you're talking about, but like Ralph Sampson?
Ralph Sampson's one of them, actually.
Oh, dang. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was like
Sampson.
associated, but I was sitting there
Not
trying to figure
associated.
that one out.
Yeah, Ralph Sampson's one of the rookies that had a triple-double with blocks. Now you're missing the other two. Wemby gets compared to this dude all the time just because of the Spurs lineage.
He gets compared to, see, when you say Spurs lineage, that's when I really start thinking.
You said Tim Duncan. You said you're just missing one dude, man.
Oh, David Robinson?
David Robinson.
What?
The last guy is a rookie. Wemby's the first guy since 1990 to do this, and it was David Robinson. Now you're missing this. Now you're missing this next guy. Again, one of those guys who were just, he's like 7'2", 7'3", and he just used that height to his advantage. And just like, I think won maybe 1 or 2 Defensive Player of the Years as a member of the Western Conference. I think he did this in the 80s.
Okay, I'm glad you narrowed some of that down, because I'm about to start naming stupid people. When you started saying dumb, tall, this, that, and the third, I was about to just start naming dumb people. Who was dumb tall in the 80s though, man? Like Manute Bol was dumb tall, but he didn't win a DPOY.
I think
he did.
This guy's 7'4", so he was dumb tall.
7'4"? Who's 7'4" in NBA history?
A 1-time NBA All-Star, 4-time block champ, 5-time All-Defensive Team, and 2-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Name his most notable team.
It's the Jazz.
Mark Eaton.
It is Mark Eaton.
The only reason why I know that is because his stats always get put next to Rudy Gobert's back when they were doing like the DPOY thing.
Yeah, no, Mark Eaton.
That's the only reason why I remember that.
He's one of the best defensive anchors of the 80s and 90s. This man was an absolute beast in terms of just blocking shots in the paint. Yeah. All right, down to number 2. This one might be the hardest question.
Oh shit.
There have been only 2 multi-time Celebrity All-Star Game MVP winners. Only 2 multiple-time Celebrity All-Star Game winners.
What the hell?
MVP winners. Who are those two celebrities?
Well, Kevin Hart has 4. He lets everybody know that.
Yeah, he has 4. He's one of them. The other man is actually an athlete of another sport. He won both of these back-to-back in the mid-2000s. Prominent athlete in his sport. Very prominent. One of the best wide receivers in NFL history, I would say. He's definitely up there.
It's like Terrell Owens?
Terrell Owens.
Really? Okay, that was a pure guess. I'm not going to lie.
Terrell Owens, 2-time Celebrity All-Star Game MVP winner. The only 2 guys who have won it at least 2 times or more.
Wow, you want to talk about guessing? That was deep in the bag.
All right. Actually, I said that might be the hardest one. This could be the hardest one. The NBA All-Star Weekend had a challenge before called the Shooting Star Event. Who is the one NBA player that has won multiple of these events, of this event?
Shooting Star Event. Dude, what makes me so mad is this is early 2K universe. I gotta get this.
Shooting Stars. It's the one where you have the NBA legend, the NBA player, and a WNBA player trying to do like that stupid like shooting challenge, and then you have to hit a half-court shot at the end.
Yeah. Crap. Who in the freak is it? You want to know something sick, TV? Yeah. I'm going to tell you something that's really crazy. I know for a fact, and I only know this because of 2K. There's only 2 people I can think of, right, that come to mind. One makes no sense. Well, I don't know his name, but like one makes no sense. The other one is like, I'm guessing for the sake of guessing. Yeah. The first person I think of is Steph Curry.
No, I think he attended this contest once and he didn't win it.
I was going to say, that's who I think was too late.
Yeah.
The person who I'm thinking of outside of that, he played for your team. Am I right? This is like, because I think this is like, oh my God.
He played for my team, but he won this 3 times as a member of another team.
Oh my God. It was like in 2K. It was like in like, oh my God. It was like NBA 2K, like '08 or something like that. Oh my God. Or something like that.
This guy was the absolute king of this event. Also the king of the half court shot. For some reason he did it the same 3 times with the same the exact same team, and they won it three times.
You know what's funny? Isn't his initial something else too? Like that we already talked about? Ain't his initials like JK or something like that too?
Nope. You think of Jason Capono? He won the 3-point contest like 2 times.
Damn it! That's the okay. And you know what's sick? That's the guy. That's the guy who I thought.
No, but this guy, for this one, he was an all-star. This guy was an all-star who, member of the Raptors, completely had to change his role when he moved to his other team. He changed his role completely.
Word? Oh, man. Okay, that really changes things a little bit because I was really thinking it was Jason Capono, and the only reason why is because you started talking about the half-court shot stuff.
This guy,
oh my God,
Loki, his career got cut short. I feel like his career got cut short, unfortunately.
Well, when you put it that way, okay, played for Toronto, had to change his career. I mean, had to change his play style completely when he changed teams. Career cut. So was it Chris Bosh then?
Chris Bosh has won the
really
challenge.
What the heck?
Do you remember any of that stuff?
No, the Jason Capono one actually I remember more for some godforsaken reason.
I love this event back in the day just because I'm always excited to see because his team was composed of him, Dominique Wilkins, and Swin Cash. Those 3 were absolute money in this event. Absolute money. I have fond memories of this event. But yeah, it is Chris Bosh. His teammates for all 3 of those events were Swin Cash and Dominique Wilkins.
Why do I remember Jason Capono more? That probably says something more about me. I'm not gonna lie. That probably says something more about me. Because for some reason I only remember Toronto, and that's where I even went. But I don't know. Yeah, that probably says something more about me than anything.
Yeah, but let us know down below what you guys think of that sort of challenge. Again, All-Star Weekend related, some current event stuff as well. Let us know down below what you guys think of that quiz, and also for quizzes down the line in the future. Jay, we've reached another end of a fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching. What do you have to tell these beautiful people before we sign out?
Dude, when we come back from All-Star break, stuff's going to look different. It's going to feel crazy, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great content. It's going to be a great overall production. I think that the push to the postseason tends to be when I really get deep into my bag in terms of even just watching basketball. I think that this little break we're going to have is going to be really refreshing, but it's going to give us a real chance to look at the kind of content that we already produce and the kind of content we want to produce and really make the most of it on the push to a postseason that could be one of the craziest playoffs that we've had in a long time. And I'm not trying to say that lightly, but even if you look at the standings as currently constructed, this could be one of the craziest postseasons we've had in a while. So I am really, really encouraged. I'm really, really excited to pair new content with the kind of stuff that we're about to see down the stretch.
Yeah, 100%. And you're going to be able to follow all of that on the Hit Your Free Throws page. You already know the changes happening. Check out the Routine Jumper for even more of that type of content, TV on basketball, if you want to follow along with especially the Raptors stuff going forward and also some other content, be able to look at that. And yeah, just show any sort of love and support on the Hit Your Free Throws here on YouTube, on the podcast networks, the social medias for the daily uploads, all that good stuff. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming for you post NBA All-Star break. Even during the All-Star break, let's be honest, we're going to have some content out for you. So just be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a fantastic end to this season. But yeah, this is the end of the episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is T. This is Jay signing out. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.